Welcome back to the final game of Playday 3 here at the NAL. Orgless going up against Cruelty. Both of these teams are looking to prove themselves and that they have earned their spot in this league. Coming out of that tier 2, so both of these teams have a lot on their shoulders. I'm Ginny, joined with Foxe and Lax, and I would like to just start off the conversation with Orgless specifically, because when we were looking at Orgless last week, even before the matches, we were like, we don't really know what to expect. We don't really have expectations.
Yeah.
So to say that they failed those expectations would technically still be wrong because there weren't any.
Yeah, no, I mean, to say that we're underwhelmed with them when we have no expectations is not fair to say. We didn't really expect anything, and so to put energy into looking forward to Orgless to play is not something that I'm going to be doing until they prove themselves. And when we look at the things that are going well for them, I mean, there isn't too much. They have decent individual players that are able to compete when it comes to the gun skill department, but Orgless as a whole, I mean, week 1, yes, it was their hardest opponents that they'll probably face. They played Shopify Rebellion and Dark Zero. So very difficult, but the same issues happen time and time again every single match. They're very sloppy, very disjointed, and they go for these 1v1 plays. There's not really a team-centric strat. There's not really a goal. It's a lot of individual players just constantly going for these big fights. And to me, I think it just comes down to a lack of veteran experience. They at no point have really had a veteran coach or veteran players since 2024 last year. And if we take a look, all of their quote-unquote best players throughout the year have slowly left, joined different teams, went to greener pastures. And the fix that Orgless comes to find is more unexperienced players. I mean, Bino being the most experienced player who went to one major event, obviously in Montreal with CL for Life, is not going to be the lifeblood that is going to fix all the issues of these players going into this year. Obviously, it's a great start, but at least having some type of good veteran supporting staff, something of the sort. We need to see some type of external help.
Can we say like one nice thing? Because it feels really...
I did. I said they have great individual players that can compete 1v1-esque, but every team knows that, so they stop them. They don't give them 1v1s.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say to that. I mean, I'm not going to put a lot of emphasis into this team when I don't really have a lot to go off of.
All right, then let's go for Cruelty.
Well, that's another talking point. Yeah, Cruelty. I mean, you know, this is again another team similar to LFO. They did, although play through a qualifier to make it here, they still are not finding their stride. And we look at Team Cruelty, but to me, it's kind of Team Criminal. Criminal because not only is it criminal for the fact that Skimzy ruined my fantasy league, it's criminal.
That's on you, bro.
It's criminal also in some of the senses of just their strats. You know, we talked about the miscommunication errors and what it looked like with SSG, but it's not just miscommunication errors that they're having, it's also miscommunication in their overall game plan. This is a Garage take that when you're looking at, there's 20 seconds left, and you are now challenging Garage. You have the Capital bolts in there, and you're sending them into who knows where at this point, because then you're trying to take this, you get C forward. It clearly shows a lack in understanding of what your push initially is for something that you just need to get the simple basic of, which I sum it all up to just getting back to the basics for Cruelty if we want to find success from them. And then you speed it up. You go into round 6 here, where I don't really know what the Buck is doing below. You could easily force Forrest out of here. Instead, you alleviate him to give him so much time to go for a C4 kill that realistically, you speed this up, the C4 kill doesn't happen. It allows you guys to be able to work just quite faster because majority of teams, the stronger teams, will take cash pretty convincingly without having to really go for any crazy picks, without having to do anything too drastic. But what you're seeing from Cruelty is they're just taking 1v1 engagements. They aren't using the utility properly. They aren't burning any flashes to even possibly go for this guy, to go for Yaga, and Yaga just cleans them up. And this, again, this goes back to the very beginning where I've talked about Cruelty coming into this league is I need to see something different that even a team like Los didn't bring, and they're almost doing the exact same thing.
So then you're saying that because they're not using the util and they're going for those 1v1 engagements instead, and you're mentioning the point that when you're looking at Orgless, individually they're doing really well, this could mean that this is like a good game for Orgless.
It'll be a great game for both of these teams because I would say it's the only other team in the league right now that is currently has as many issues as their respective counterpart. So obviously both teams will have to use this as a chance to get points and get into the standings, but also to be able to correct some of these mistakes in an environment where they'll be given that opportunity to do so.
So then when it comes to the map, Vito, when it comes to the playing ground that both of these teams are going forward to, you are shaking your head
The maps
aggressively.
are
like
so
they don't
irrelevant
matter.
at this point. It does not matter. What matters is the team that's going to show up and really learn from their mistakes that they keep making over and over again. So I am happy that they are getting rid of Clubhouse. They do want to challenge their fundamentals, that they can be a stronger team. But for both these teams, they're both struggling
have the fundamentals?
in the exact same issue. The thing is, you should almost give Cruelty the benefit of the doubt. Lair's interesting. You should give Cruelty the benefit of the doubt here, just for the simple fact they've been a team a lot longer than the new Orgless has been, and has more structure, has more experience within the T1 session of things. But as for a whole for both these rosters, I mean, it really just comes down to who's going to show up today, because we really haven't seen anything tangible to really hold on to from either one of these rosters. So I don't really care what map it's fallen on, and Lair really is an interesting one because there's so much depth to this map that neither of these teams have showed us, even in simpler maps.
I don't get why you would go to Lair. Like, neither of these teams have shown Lair. Maybe when you're playing up against one of the top teams, you would pull out a Lair to be able to, you know, get a couple of rounds, like be unpredictable.
Maybe they both want to be unpredictable.
Two bottom teams in the league, like there's no reason to just pull Lair out. You're not even going to be able to test anything really, because you're playing also an equally lower team in the league on Lair, so you're not getting the best look at Lair possible.
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense why you would go to Lair.
It's not very epic. That's
okay,
what
but
I'm
maybe
gonna say.
that's why they want to go to Lair, because there is like zero expectations. None of the teams are going to be like going crazy.
It's like if you have a trap card and you're using your trap card on a player that you shouldn't, like the player that you should win realistically.
Yeah, I know what you're trying to say.
There's better versions of when you can pull out Lair, of course. And also, like we said, you want to use this game to potentially fix issues and play a team that is also weaker. But you're going on a map like Lair. What issues are you going to fix?
Oh my God, you guys are both so heated. I don't know if the casters are feeling the exact same way, but I guess we're going to find out how they feel about Lair being the one picked here, because it's our final game F today with Jesse and Intero.
Thank you so very much for all the work that you have done today. We've had a very competitive day of Rainbow Six Siege, and the game that we thought would be the most competitive actually ended up being the least competitive, which was the game that just preceded this one. So not exactly things going according to plan across the board. The community seems to think Team Cruelty has the upper hand here. Both of these teams have 0 points at this present point in time. Cruelty edges out this Orgless squad just simply based on round differential. Neither of them have made overtime. Neither of them have mustered more than just a couple rounds, or a few rounds, I should say, if we want to be specific. And now of all the maps to go to, we go to Lair. This will be an intriguing match to watch, Jesse.
I am excited. Lair's one of my favorite maps to watch, and we've got a hell of a game to play on Lair. And I got a bit of a fun fact for you, Parker, on this map, because it's no secret, it's been a while since Team Cruelty have beaten a Tier 1 team. But the last time they beat a Tier 1 team was in the North American 6 Invitational qualifiers when they went up against Orgless, then known as Friendship Team, but it's the same core. And they played a BO3. They beat Friendship Team in that matchup, and the map that they chose and won in that BO3 was Lair. It was a 7-5 victory for Team Cruelty. Now, Friendship Team, now known as Orgless, have made some roster moves since then. Team Cruelty are the same 5-man stack, so it's not exactly a one-to-one repetition of what happened back in January, but it is still a fun parallel, and I'm excited to see how Cruelty can do in this match against Orgless. It's no secret these two teams, bottom of the league at the moment, this might be the only time that these two squads have a chance to get a victory in this stage of the North America League. There's always room for improvement, and I'm never going to count a team out until they've had their chance to show what they have. But these two teams have looked a little weak so far, Parker. So I'm hoping that we can see a competitive game and we can see one of these teams really start to take over in the NA League a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be too pessimistic about the chances of the other teams, but when we were coming into the NA League for this particular stage, there were some discussions about the top teams, the middle teams, and then the bottom teams. And the bottom teams used to be more than just these two. I mean, a lot of people said Envy was in that same breadth. And I mean, based on their results through these first 3 games, Envy's had one good look in the Shopify Rebellion matchup, but beyond that, it's been tough going for them. Admittedly, they have one of the hardest schedules to start off the stage, and they are one of the least experienced teams playing at a tier 1 level. So, I mean, welcome to the show, boys. As for Cruelty and LFO, it's a bit of a different story. I mean, Cruelty hasn't exactly had an easy road. They did play against 2 what were originally middle-of-the-pack teams in Space Station and OXG, mustering 3 rounds against Space Station and then 4 against OXG. So there was some improvement there. As for Orgless, yeah, they've had a really rough go of it. Orgless, very first game, very first day, up against Shopify Rebellion. They get clobbered 7-2. They, of course, being the 2, and then they have Dark Zero the very next day. Now, for those that have been following the standings and the results that we see so far, those are the top 2 teams. So, I mean, things are not exactly going well for Orgless' schedule. Either they and Envy have really suffered through it. I honestly think that Orgless should have the upper hand here, but being on layer, it really does throw a couple gears into the mix.
Yeah, I would agree 100%. I think Orgless have looked a little bit better through the first week, but it's really tough to say. Starting on attack won't do them any favors. They have yet to win even a single attacking round this season, so hoping to break that streak. If they don't, I can't imagine this game's going to go very well. That would be a 6-0 deficit to try to dig themselves out of. It's a full anchor strap from Cruelty to start this game, which is why we haven't talked too much about the round. It's been very slow so far. Orgless given the top 2 floors completely for free, and they've used some of their utility really nicely to work some vertical angles. Now they've got the hard breach in towards Office. Pyrox is going to be their first line of defense to try to stop this push.
And I'll go the B's in front of him as he just watches here, and very quick reflexes as Bino manages to skate on by, fends the very first kill. And my, oh my, Skimzy is down for the count. He's now changed himself to just SK. He's no longer Skimzy. It's just SK. So, I mean, that's something for us to watch. Matumbo's last one standing. Kixro the only casualty on the side of Orgless. And, I mean, Matumbo can potentially win this if they don't get the plant down. But no, Bino was halfway through it at that point. And Eddie, with one of the cleanest rooms I have ever seen on the camera of a gamer, celebrates as Orgless wins the round.
And just like that, the streak does get broken. Congratulations, Orgless winning their first attack of the season, and it looked pretty dominant, to be honest. Cruelty didn't really put up much to stop that aggression from Orgless. They took the top 2 floors without any issues. They pushed down into Filter. They had players over towards Supply. They really had all the dimensions they needed for that push. That's a nice shot by Bino to kind of get that push going. Very helpful. The Smoke was the first person to die, and then Pyrox, the second one to go down right after Skimzy. Starts things off very favorably for Orgless in that push. I was a little worried about the clock because they had those Toxic Babes. They had a couple of opportunities on the side of Cruelty to stall things out on the side of Orgless, but it just didn't matter. A couple of bodies hit the floor, and from there, it just felt like they were completely invigorated on the side of Orgless. So, nice little push. Not a whole lot set up to slow things down, but it's important to get those early ones on the board, especially in what is relatively a high-pressure matchup between these 2 teams.
Absolutely, and I mean, I think you set the expectations earlier where these are both squads that have a lot of learning and a lot of growing to do. And this might be the best shot for both of them to get some points. I will say, for a while, Layer has had a distinction, maybe not at this current point in time, but for a period of time, it had the distinction of being the most defender-sided map. The fact that Orgless could just walk right in, kill the entire team, and get the diffuser basically planted, it would have been planted if Matumbo had lived about an extra second, shows you that something is kind of wrong with Cruelty's defense through that first round. Now, whether they can pick that up or not will be the question, but if they start at an 0-3 score line against Orgless, well, I think the writing might unfortunately be on the wall at that time for the Mexican team.
Another round where Cruelty don't seem to want to play too far off the bomb site. Ivan would kind of be that guy usually as the primary entry for this team who wants to be making some moves. Pyrox historically has kind of filled that role as well for the team, but both last round and this round, very anchor focused, unable to stop that Flores drone from getting to its objective. That's going to be a deployable shield gone thanks to Fenn's powerful position. It had to go down quite a long hallway. The fact that it gets all the way out is pretty tough for Cruelty. once again, we're probably going to see 2 full minutes where Orgless take their time, setting up their push, deciding where they want to go for, clearing out util with these Flores drones, and taking space with this Monty of Bino. If they don't challenge Bino early in this hallway, then he's going to be able to get a lot of ground for his teammates.
Oh, nice shot by Pyrox. The follow-up will not be had onto the Monty, as Bino's shield will make him a bit impervious to that boss G. It will continue to hunt him down, as you could also hear the Yokai and Matumbo doing some work to try and assist this roam from Cruelty and Pyrox. Eyes in the hands of Kixro. Kixro taking very little damage in that interaction. Now Bino will encroach upon the space held by Ivan as he watches the door frame through a rotate. He's got a deployable shield onto his left, and that's where Matumbo is seated, and the Yokai drone will have plenty of time to maneuver on over to a different part of the map. I've long argued that a major quality of life change for Echo would be knowing when that Yokai can stick to the ceiling. Eddie has died, but so too does Ivan. Another player goes down on the side of Cruelty in final 35 seconds. You'd think that there was 2 minutes left with the pace right now being set by Orgless.
Yeah, Diffuse get held by Bino. I don't know where he's going to go with this. Not a lot of time at all. He's going to try to vault into the mask wall, but with Fatal playing close, that could be much easier said than done.
Nitro Cell lined up. What will happen with the Monty? Skimzy swinging out. Down goes Fens. Nitro Cell expended, but the Monty's still alive. They will clobber the players inside of the site. Matumbo and Skimzy, last 2 alive, with Bino now at the halfway point of the diffuser. Skimzy finds yet another and a third potentially there as Kixro peels out of his position. The shield goes up too quickly. A quad kill for Kixro. They'll need to find Matumbo to complete them all. They'll be giving position away with the Echo on the board. Kixro with the ace in round 2, and Orgless is off to a hot start.
How about a statement comeback from Kixro? That's a player they needed to see some performance from today. He hasn't had the greatest stage so far. 0.5 KDR through the first 2 play days. He's the primary entry for this team. He took the plurality of offensive opening engagements for Orgless last week, but he lost every single one of them. Didn't technically get an opening pick this round, but was very quick to trade out the opening pick that did happen for Pyrox and continued to move forward through the early game. I thought he worked really well off of Bino on that Monty. So making good use of the information his teammates are giving for him allowed that space to move through the map. Teammates took a lot of the attention away from him so that he could make those movements. And then, yeah, a lot of players just not really focused on Kixro during that round. So focused on Bino, so focused on other players that he was able to line them up and, of course, hit some beautiful shots to secure that ace. Big stuff coming out from Kixro that round.
Great to see, and honestly, again, a very close round that, I mean, Orgless was in full control, especially with the Monty up, but all credit does go to Kixro for the way that he played that. 1 kill in round number 1, and then 5 will jump his tally up to 6. I mean, he's one of the players that you expect to be getting some of these kills, but the roles on Orgless are a bit fluid. I mean, you look at it right now, and just based on their operators, Kixro should not be somebody in immediate action. He's the only hard breacher on the team. No secondary hard breach gadgets available either, so if the ace goes, that's it. You have no way to get on in, because an adversary will be fatal on this Kaid, who's currently holding down those A-bomb walls. The electrification on that second claw also looked like it was affecting the wall directly above the bomb site.
Well, I think they'll be happy with this early performance. This is also, again, down 0-2 on the defense, never really where you want to be. Bunk's briefing our next site, and they've clearly got some information in the bomb site, so they're able to clear up those electro claws. Fatal, I believe, was trying to go for a trick there, and will get it. They had info inside the site, but it doesn't seem to matter. Nice little play by Fatal. It's not going to show up on the stat sheet, but that is a massively impactful play. That was the last Selma charge from Kixro as well. That's the most important wall on the site. They now need to clear this full top floor and then go vertical down to the site. Otherwise, I just don't know if they're going to make this push happen.
Kixro's Claymore gets Skimzy on the run out. That's yet another kill for the tally on side of Kixro as we reach the halfway point here on layer. This downstairs bomb site being worked on right now on the top floor, with Matumbo being that main line of defense. Orgless showing a lot of reluctance to enter the building. They got half of their drones still remaining. Down goes Eddie at the hands of Pyrox. That was the Azami playing on the stairs, not far removed from Matumbo's position. Eddie dying means no smokes available for you right now. You've got pocket EMPs, but not a ton of weaponry when it comes to secondary gadgets from Orgless. They are once again quite slow as to where they want to go and what they want to do.
Eddie had the fuse kit too when he died to Pyrox. So that's a massive pickup. He was outside the building, so they should be able to pick it back up, but still, it's going to waste even more time off this clock. Matumbo is a huge problem at the moment as he's just playing up at the top of the green stairs, makes it impossible for them to enter. They're going to give up on it seemingly as Matumbo has continued to hold this ground and just go for the site, but it's going to take a long time. They still don't have that fuse kit.
Bullet spraying out in front of Ivan right now as he has a very challenging position and he loses the fight to Kixro, who's traded right back by Pyrox. 10 seconds left. Yet again, a very sluggish round, but this is a big map. That's what happens with Border. Bino looking for the all clear to get the diffuser down. Epic and Fens will watch over it, but it is not finding any success. They are running out of time. Bino, you need to plant the diffuser, and he will. Pyrox and Epic in a 1v1, and Epic shuts him down. No return to the site for Team Cruelty, and it's 3-0 for the American squad. Team Cruelty held off the scoreboard so far.
I'm genuinely baffled they lost that round. Full top floor control for the side of Team Cruelty. The wall was tricked closed so they couldn't enter through the main breach. They had players that ran in through bottom green and they had some players over top yellow as well. But I mean, there was like 20 seconds. The fuse kit was still not being held. Cruelty just had to play time, try to play above as well. They could have gotten a vertical denial on that plant. That's a round Team Cruelty desperately are going to want back. If you can't win a round set up that nicely for you, they didn't have a huge man count lead or anything, but even still, positioning was so good for them. And still, things just fall apart in the dying seconds. That cannot be happening at this level.
Community vote was very much in favor of Team Cruelty. And I mean, it's really hard to determine who you think will do best when you have two teams like this, right? There's a lot of unpredictability and there's a lot of factors you wouldn't necessarily think about. Team Cruelty has tons of success together as a team, but not at a top level. Whereas the experience behind these players on the side of Orgless was discussed just a couple minutes earlier on the analyst desk by both Foxay and Laxing. Throw in this map on layer and it's really just anybody's game. This is easily, with this being on layer, this is easily the hardest game to predict of the day. And it comes down to being our final matchup as well. Neither of these teams have shown confidence, if we can put it that way, through these first couple days. But again, Orgless had a really tough schedule to start things off. Cruelty a little bit less so. Attacking on layer is a very difficult challenge, and Orgless has not been without their struggles, but have made it look relatively easy, if I'm being honest. Like it's been mad scrambles inside the site that can really just go either way, but beyond that, Orgless has looked in fairly good control.
It took only 3 rounds against Team Cruelty for Kixro to double his total kills this season. He had 8 frags in their opening 2 games in their opening week. He now has 8 just in the 3 rounds against Team Cruelty. Obviously, the ace in round 2, a massive part of that, but still, Kixro has been far better in this game against Cruelty than he was previous. That's going to be the difference maker for Orgless. I mean, Foxay even complimented their individual skill on the desk. We weren't seeing that from certain players in the first week. Now we're starting to see it shine, right? Up against Cruelty, where maybe some miscoordination is not going to go as punished. That individual skill is starting to shine on the side of Orgless. And I haven't really been able to see Team Cruelty answer back in any meaningful way.
No, I mean, you look at the kills at the bottom. Pyrox's kills have mostly been impactless through the middle portions of the round. Beyond that, name a single kill that's come out from the other 4 players that have had much of an impact on the actual round. It's been a challenge. But I will say we should temper expectations for this matchup too. These are 2 teams that one of which is dealing with a pretty exhausting set of circumstances, which is your org pulling out at the last minute, seemingly quite unexpectedly, days before you're supposed to play, now being left Orgless. And then you've got another team that has made the jump up to a tier 1 region that didn't really have the same level of competition and success and is now trying to acclimate to a new environment, one that is infinitely more challenging than the environment that they were in. So both of these teams are approaching this stage not to compete for first overall, but to grow and learn. If both of them can avoid finishing dead last, I think that is a victory for these teams. And I don't mean that derisively, I just mean newer teams need more time in the lab to get up to speed.
Yeah, for sure. Right now, we're seeing Cruelty with another full anchor setup on the basement side of things. I'm not sure if they have an opportunity to move that Scopos around. Maybe they could go for a late flank. It looks like the second body is still up. I want to see somebody on Cruelty get active. You know, it's been a bit of a scared matchup from them so far. And if they're just going to let Orgless have this top floor for 2.5 minutes as they have previously, I'm not sure it's going to work out for them. They've already tried this once. It didn't find success. I want to see Mutombo getting aggressive with this smoke. I want to see Pyrox making a play on this Melusi. I want to see something crazy from the Scopos. They got to find some way to get a pick before this push comes barreling in 5v5.
A brief pause now as there's that first pick. Fatal picking off Eddie, who seemed to enter all on his lonesome. Ben's taking down Pyrox, and we are now in a position where Orgless seem like they might be doing okay, but the kill feed is disappearing just as fast as these Orgless players are. A double kill will come in from Skimzy, and Mutombo gets the final onto Epic, and just like that, Team Cruelty uses their timeout to get themselves onto the board.
Okay, that's what we needed. Again, somebody not playing scared, somebody making a move. It took 2.5 minutes, but Fatal was able to catch Eddie out somewhere around the map. I believe Eddie was pushing Filter, and then Fatal must have just been playing somewhere around the site, caught an angle on him. Nice stuff coming out from Fatal in that round, and then followed up by their teammates too. Wasn't just Fatal going for a swing, but you saw Pyrox going for a swing. You saw Skimzy going for a couple of swings. This team's got to get their confidence back, you know? And I'm not sure if that's something maybe they talked about in that TAC timeout. They're obviously a team that have gotten a lot of criticism, even just for being here at an open qualifier where they didn't have to play against teams from the US or Canada, and so some community members didn't like that too much. Put some pressure on a team like Cruelty. You can't let that pressure get to you. You know, you're playing at the highest level, regardless of any circumstances around that. You got to show up and perform and play to that level that people know you can. I'm glad we saw one good round from them. I'm glad we saw one round where they could take some confidence and take some swings. That's got to continue through the second quarter.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's the old cliche, right? All comebacks start with a single round, and who knows, right? Coaches, again, have a vantage point into their team that we don't have. And we don't, unfortunately, have the listen-ins any longer. I mean, not that it would make much of a difference with Cruelty, as they common Spanish, and as far as I'm aware, they don't speak Spanish in Edmonton. They barely do in Toronto, so I assume we're both kind of at a loss there.
Yeah.
But I would be very interested to know what was being said in that timeout, because coaches take them for different reasons. Sometimes they take it because they feel like the mood or the vibes of a team are off and they just want to kind of be a leader and settle things down. Sometimes they understand that strategy is a bigger issue. You know, when we go to live events, one of the best parts are that we can listen in to what the coaches are saying, providing that, of course, they speak English. We can still listen in if they don't speak English. It's just we don't understand them as well. That said, go ahead.
Not super insightful.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm listening to a FaZe Clan timeout, I'm not really gaining much from it. That's at the point where you just try to read into body language and hope that you can understand a little bit, and maybe somebody's watching and translating for you.
I did like that at the Reload tournament. We actually had a lot of translation going on for TAC timeouts, where we had some Brazilian talent. Maria was able to translate a lot of the timeouts, which was really cool to see.
It was a bit strange, I will say, not seeing her as a part of the Brazilian broadcast.
Yeah.
Seeing her as part of the NA broadcast was very welcomed, but every time I saw it, I was like, wait, am I on the wrong channel? She did an excellent job, though. Honestly, shout out to all the talent at Reload. It was an unconventional event, let's put it that way, with some of the cards and the systems they had with a brand new game, and I think they all did it quite swimmingly. That said, the reason why we're talking so much is because all 5 of these rounds have been devastatingly slow. Orgless has spent more than half of the round every round outside of the building. Only now do we see the Nook of Fens trying to sweep in, maybe to exploit a weakness as teams keep their eye off the prize with a minute to go, perhaps?
Yeah, I mean, Skimsy's kind of watching for it, but now he's falling back towards bathroom. The brunt of this push obviously coming for our 6 room. That's where they pushed last time. It's where Kickstro got his ace last time too. And Fens will open things up, found the gap. Matumbo goes down. Could that be the breaking point? Still Epic down below and everybody following up Bino in the green hallway.
Ben's getting in on that Nook, doing exactly what he needs to do, which is being a phantom illusion, just dancing around as all of your attention will now be on where the execute comes from. Bino on that Monty with Diffuser will once again try to escort it into the site, and try being the keyword here, as he's not been successful every single round. Now intel for Epic. As of the 4 remaining players, they know where the smoke is. Probably the largest hindrance to getting this Diffuser planted. Fens with yet another taken out by Fatal as Kickstro is in on it. It's all up to Ivan. As the Diffuser is successfully planted, Epic and Eddie will stand guard while Bino watches and gives information. That Scorpion can shred, but it'll be a tough go for Ivan, who gets pounced on by Eddie. And with Bailiff in hand, it's Cruelty who's sent to prison. 4-1 the scoreline for Orgless. One more round to go in the first half.
And nice for Ivan to get on the board in that round. His goal, though, I believe, was to hunt down Epic. Again, he's the primary entry for Team Cruelty. He's the guy who should be getting aggressive. And when you've got a Deimos down below your site, causing so much havoc, forcing players to move around, it's probably his responsibility to go down there and do something about it. Epic was a little bit too tough to track, though. They couldn't find Epic. And by the time he really got close, he had to just rush up the green stairs, try to make a play happen, because Plant had gone down at that point and his teammates were all dead. So gets one exit frag, but it's not going to be enough. Orgless, another solid round. Nothing too crazy in that one. Obviously, I thought the Nook play was kind of cool. Definitely got them that opening pick, and was smart to run it there because the Nook came in for a dimension that otherwise nobody else in Orgless was covering. So it added another dimension to that push that they otherwise wouldn't have had. But yeah, I mean, a nice solid push once again through the hallway, not dissimilar to what they saw in round number 2. Cruelty not able to adapt, unfortunately.
This is one thing with the both newer teams and the less experienced teams that you will encounter, which is preparedness, and then on top of that, the flexibility that comes with newer teams. When you are comfortable with the way your system works, and when you know yourself inside and out and your teammates, you can be a bit more flexible. If you're a newer team and you're still trying to get the hang of your basic strategies, then it becomes a little bit more challenging to adapt on the fly. And I think it's safe to say that both of these teams still lack quite a bit of experience. Goes back to the point that I said in the last round, which is that the expectation for both of these squads is to just not finish last at this current point in time. Still plenty of time for them to make a run up the standings, but I don't know if that will come to pass this particular stage.
For the first time, I mean, I said I wanted to see Ivan play a little more aggressive. He's going to be the one guy down on the basement, or down on the site instead. Everybody else is going to be playing up above. So this is going to be one where they really try their best to hold on to top floor. That wasn't enough last time they defended on bunks and briefing. Cruelty held the top floor for the majority of the round, and well, basically all the round, and then still a Plant was able to go down under their noses, and Matumbo did eventually die up there. So hoping to see them be able to lock this down a little bit on the side of Cruelty. It is not easy to clear through the top floor, even with Bino on the Monty. Hopefully it's going to be able to waste a lot of time on this extension and maybe get some picks too if you're Cruelty.
Again, Bino will be the lightning rod for this team, and if you're Cruelty, you are hopeful that you can create quite the storm over top of this Orgless execute. Kickstro will back him up yet again. 9 kills at this point, 5 of which all came in the same round. We'll remind you of the ace that occurred. Eddie takes down Pyrox, and now it's the Monty looking for something around the corner. Matumbo is all done and dusted. The 2 anchor players from Cruelty reduced to rubble, as you have no Evil Eyes and no toxic canisters to deal at all with the remaining minute and the execute that will come with it. Benz has been quite superb over the last couple rounds, not just doing utility on his role, but now getting kills. Problem is, Bino and Eddie are on a single point of HP, so if even one of those Goyo canisters is triggered, both of them will die from the first lick of fire. That might mean Bino needs to move that diffuser around. Ivan now and Skimzy, last 2 standing. Can they hold this round together for Cruelty?
It's going to be difficult. I mean, they still have the walls closed, which is nice, but Orgless 5v2. They should be able to just run at them. There we go. Fens for a third, and Skimzy, well, he gets 1. Do you believe, Parker?
I mean, No,
Yeah.
I didn't before Kixrow would break double digits, but no, I mean, it's been a tough one. One round in the first half, defending on layer for Team Cruelty is, it's something. A frustrating result. I have no doubt, as conventional wisdom would suggest, that Orgless is now going to go on to the better side here.
Yeah. Yeah.
No surprise to see them get rid of the Monty. They know exactly how powerful Monty is here. He slipped through the cracks on the first wave of bans, and now they're not going to allow Cruelty to do the same thing to them that was done to them.
Bandit Dokkaebi being removed too. Bandit could be really strong on that Bunks bomb site to keep that wall closed. We saw the Kaid doing quite well for Cruelty in that aspect, but Bandit can do it probably a little bit better when it comes to tricking. That Bunks wall can be really tough to stop a Bandit trick. This gunfight from Fens over Fatal is one I kind of wanted to touch on, and since the replay showed it, you really got to be winning that fight if you're Fatal. You know, you're already down 2 man counts, and then you've got the perfect read on where the player is. You just can't quite hit the shot in time, especially for a guy like Fatal, who was the only player in this entire lobby that was positive at the end of week 1. He had a 112 overall. Most of that, to be fair, came from some strong attacking rounds on the side of Fatal. So if Fatal's not really showing up, if Fatal's not able to shoot back, that kind of is the bare minimum that we've seen so far from Team Cruelty as to what's been accomplished. You complimented Fens. He was the best player for Orgless statistically last week, and now he's going to try to keep that going as he is swapped to the Cav, our second Caveira of the North American League in 2 weeks.
We've got some exciting games coming up for you tomorrow, by the way, as it looks like we're nearing the end of this particular match. We start the day off with a wild card going up against M80. That'll be an exciting one. M80 will be due for a bounce back after getting humiliated today in their matchup that we thought would be quite close. I'm not going to spoil the result, the actual result for you, but you should know where it's going based on what I said. Dark Zero and Cloud9 will be our second matchup of the day. We'll see if DZ can keep up their winning ways. Envy against Space Station will be one that I think stylistically Envy will match up either very, very well against SSG, or they will play the same game and Space Station will clobber them. Cruelty goes up against Shopify Rebellion. The job does not get any easier for Cruelty from this point forward, and Orgless will close out the day against OXG. I'll give you a rundown of the standings once this one is done. I really wanted to see something from the Cav, Jesse.
Hey, credit where credit's due. Cruelty droned the Cav. They saw the Cav. They killed the Cav. No casualties. That's what should happen when a Cav goes on the board every single round. And Fens was gambling his luck a little bit that they wouldn't drone that spot, but thankfully they did. So that's going to be Team Cruelty avoiding the most embarrassing way to lose this round, but it's still not easy. There's been a lot of time on that, and the bomb site is up above. Some breaching still to be done, as I don't believe they have opened up into the mask wall yet. One more Selma still in the pocket of Fatal if they want to push over towards our 6 room. Seems to be where they're headed at the moment, so we'll see. Toxic Babe's almost being done, and if Eddie dies from below, that could be a real opener onto the site.
Orgless hasn't really been giving up a lot of these first kills, so I mean they're in not uncharted territory, but a bit of an odd spot where they now sit down numbers. Yet again, this is a big map. These teams are newer. It's going to take some time for them to find the bomb site and clear things out, so expect slow attacking rounds from Cruelty from this point forward, just as we saw from Orgless. Most of the executes occurred with 20 seconds left on the clock. Cruelty's still got about 25-ish seconds to get to that point. The thing with Cruelty is they've still got tons of utility at their disposal. They've got hard breach, they've got soft breach, they've got the ability to pin people down, they've got nades, flashes, like they've got an abundance of tools to deal with the bomb site. The question is, will they get there? They've already got that one operator lead. Matumbo's in the site planting the diffuser. He'll have to peel off as he was completely unescorted. Kixrow with one Fatal trades it right back. Advantage still right now for Team Cruelty. Matumbo once again attempting to get that diffuser down, and it's epic to slaughter one. Matumbo clear enough to plant the diffuser, and now the 3 players from Team Cruelty will sit and wait. Eddie from above will just narrowly escape the prying eyes of Ivan as it's epic. Close enough to the bomb site, all on his own. He and Eddie clear enough by, but unsure of what to do next. Matumbo gets swatted away. Pyrox wins that duel, and now Eddie tries his best, but it can't be done. The attackers having an excellent shout at the moment on layer, and Team Cruelty wins their first attack.
All right, you know, early opening pick onto the Cav down below. That was clean. They had no problems dealing with that. And then I thought they used that first floor pressure really well. Ivan on the buck, not only getting that opening pick to start that round off in a 5v4, but then also doing a great job pressuring from down below. He didn't get a kill until late into that round, but his early pressure onto Eddie really prevented Eddie from stopping that push to come on in. He did get to use all 3 of his toxic babes, but still wasn't positioned, I think, where he wanted to be when that push happened, thanks to the pressure from the buck down below. And then, of course, did get that excellent trade onto Kickstro as well. So really abusing those vertical angles, I thought, quite nicely from Ivan. So good positive on their first attacking round from Team Cruelty. It was always going to be important for Ivan to start strong in this game. Being the primary entry up against what has been, historically through the first week, the worst entry team in the league, was going to be important to get things going. Couldn't really make it happen on the defense, but now here on the attack, you might be able to see some tides shifting if he can continue that and get more opening picks in the second half.
Objective is to defuse a bomb.
Entries have had a pretty tough go of it, actually, in the NA League across the board. I'm not sure how long it would take you to pull all those numbers together, but it seems like your typical entries are all struggling. I think, you know, Ambi doing as well as he's doing is a bit of a surprise. I think there was some expectation that Surf would keep up his good play and Spoit would also kind of slot in an entry role, but it's been Ambi fully in the driver's seat there. Ashen has been exceptionally good, which is a bit of a surprise for most people. Benjamaster has been notoriously quiet. There's been a lot of changes and upheaval in who can take map control first and who can capitalize off of it. But it would be something fun for you to mention on a future broadcast, as I suspect it would be a little bit tough for you to get it here right now in this matchup.
Yeah, I can't sort just by role and see entry stats, unfortunately, but I'll look into it for the next game for you, Parker. I don't think we're on NA League for a couple weeks after this, but I'll make sure to have it.
I think it's a little bit of time until we're back. So
Our bridge getting done with no problems, thanks to that Bandit Kaid ban.
Oh, Epic giving up first yet again. 2 rounds where Orgless could really benefit from having that opening pick. They got a little cute with the Cav play, I will say. They saw the first half. They were up 5-1. They said, these guys are a bunch of chumps. Let's do some funny stuff. And they picked the Cav, and Fens get spotted and picked away, and the rest of the round kind of snowballed in the direction of Cruelty. This is the problem with when you get a little bit too cute, is that you can give up very important momentum. That all happened on drone, by the way. Fatal was getting guided in by his teammate, and Bino still killed him either way. That's quite devastating.
This could be a cool push coming up with Mutombo and the Sens. I forget who it was. It might have been Oxygen last week that had a really cool Sens play coming in through bottom green onto this bomb site that it couldn't get denied from up above. Not that there's a Warden up there anyways, but that might be the game plan for Mutombo. Just walk in green, clear the site player, and then plant behind that Sens wall.
A lot of sidearms out at the moment.
Yeah, same wall coming up here.
Yeah. Very short-lived. Bino waiting for the call, taken out from an angle he wasn't expecting. What on earth just happened there? Toxic Canister will keep them at bay as Cruelty is unable to get through that door. Hatch now being watched from above by Eddie, looking for the drop. Or at least, if he's not going to drop in full commit, just waiting for a run on into the A bomb site. He will have it. Diffuser was attempted by Mutombo. A toxic gas will miss, and Mutombo will go, appearing to go 2 for 2 on getting that diffuser successfully planted, and immediately Cruelty will get out of the building. Pyrox shutting down Fens. It's all up to Eddie and Kicksrow. Ivan has been dropped and will get secured. Numbers are better for Orgless, but Cruelty is in a very good spot, especially with the fact that they were able to get out of the building. Pyrox, you saw him drop. Could have been a perspective issue. Could have been that he was playing maybe with stretch resolution and didn't actually see him. Now it's Skimsy taking some damage from the goo mine. Eddie will hop onto the diffuser. Kicksrow will look for counter disable. Grenade goes out. Eddie has to fall off of his position. He was a second away from it, and that was a real sloppy post plant from, frankly, both of those teams.
Yeah, but you know, I liked the push still to come out from Mutombo. You know, Team Cruelty, they clearly were watching the first week of games. They read right into that Sens play. When it was run last week in the North America League, it was used partly to counter a smoke that was playing up above, and it did the exact same job in this round. That's one where it's clear just Cruelty have done their homework. Again, I believe it was Auction. I don't want to miscredit it. It might have been Dark Zero. That was the game that happened in, at the very least, where we saw some really cool plays coming out. Just nice usage of a bit of a rare operator to get that plant down. And then in the post plant, while it got a little bit shaky, I was starting to get concerned that Eddie might just be able to stick. They had that long range nade coming out from outside the building that ensured there was no hope of getting that disable off. While a couple of players dying was a little sloppy, a little scary. I think the whole time they had the one guy outside that wasn't going to let them lose that round. So strong put together already. Team Cruelty back-to-back attacks. I don't mind what we're seeing from them on this offensive side either. We talked about Orgless coming into this as the worst attacking team in the North America League. They hadn't won a single attack through the first week of play. They managed to solve that problem. Good attacks here on Lair, but maybe it's come at the expense of their defense.
I mean, none of these teams are having a great defender side. You know, we gave a shout out to what was it, to Clubhouse Attack, I believe, or Clubhouse Defense as being the MVP of the matchup. Right now, the MVP is Lair Attack, I guess. Only a single round has been won by a defending team. It's bad news for Orgless. You said when the side swap came in, conventional wisdom suggested that Orgless would have an easy ride from this point onward, and boy, how wrong we were. Even without Dokkaebi and Amonte, the attackers are still winning. That is really quite stunning. I know the defenders don't have any electrification to keep these walls soft, but hard breach has really not been a big focal point for Cruelty through these two rounds. We thought they were going to get a little bit cute with Skimsy looking for an opening, but Bino sitting inside of the office by that big Damo mask, watching the door, watching him skate by, and Nook might be invisible to cameras, but not to the human eye. And as far as I'm aware, Bino does have human eyes.
We'll check that. We'll get a stat check on that, but probably yes.
Breaking news. Could we get some info in here about the status of Bino's eyes?
Well, it's a nice opening pick at the very least. We saw Nook play have a huge impact for Orgless in that exact same position, so they're ready for it on the other side. Ivan continues his early game prize as well, though. Down below on that buck, taking down Kixtro. Hugely impactful frag as Kixtro has been on fire today. Since swapping to the defensive half, though, hasn't really had that same impact. I don't hate this push from Team Cruelty. Everything they've set up, the walls open no problem. They got full vert pressure. Ivan on the buck down below has been a huge issue for Orgless.
Really quite an impressive game so far by Kixtro, even if he is faltering a little bit on this second side. Another very slow execute. Plenty of drones on the side of Cruelty. 6 drones remaining with 50 seconds left. That's a decently impressive tally, Jesse. We don't usually see numbers quite that high.
Epic on a mute jammer is not going to get caught by anything.
Ivan will take down Epic and Eddie will join, or Fens rather. Epic is now the one fighting through the window. He and Bino are there, and I mean, these kills just seem to come in such a puzzling amount of time. They seem to be very direct gunfights, and time again, these teams are unprepared for where their opponents are standing. I don't know if you can chalk that one up to intel or not. But Mutombo now just past the halfway point, and looks like he'll be successful. Epic and Bino last two standing, and Bino will head for the hills as he's the only one remaining. Cruelty looking for the final pick now. It looks like they got it. I assume they got it. My feed is completely frozen, so I assume that they have got it.
I'm frozen in a 2v4. Oh, I'm back. I can see that it is 5-4 for Orgless, so it looks like Cruelty were able to win another attack there. Sorry, folks. Sometimes
I am now stuck on a frame of Fatal. And
okay, I'm on a different frame. I'm on op bands.
You want to trade? Like we can like collect them, like collect like cards.
Perhaps. Operator bands, hopefully the stream has seen what they are so far. I have not, but I will say I hope Orgless banned the buck. I think Ivan on the buck down below on that top floor bomb site is biggest problem that they've had. His ability to use that vert pressure has been a huge issue over and over again, as going down below, not even just getting kills, but forcing players to move has been a big problem. We'll have to see how things do end up playing out, because it feels like one of those games that is starting to slip. We talk about how comebacks only start with one round, but the side swap can make a huge difference in that momentum swing. And I think Team Cruelty have been a massive game changer in how they've been able to swap things back.
There's a tactical timeout that was called, or a technical timeout. I assume this was from Orgless wanting to talk about things, which is, it stands to reason, is quite good. I mean, you have to problem solve. Attackers still just dominating this layer game. Only a single round up to this point has been won by a defender, and that was Team Cruelty back in the first half. This enormous difference between attacking and defending is frankly very, very rare. I feel like at live events we'll have maybe one or two maps where this happens, but that's about it. Especially given the fact that, you know, there's a rhythm with bomb sites. There's a rhythm with these teams where it's like you should lose one or two bomb sites. You should be able to win one or two bomb sites. And it really just comes down to these teams, but it doesn't seem to matter where they play. Cruelty is putting together quite the impressive comeback.
Attacker's objective is to locate
Ban
a bomb
instead from Orgless, and I do think Mutombo is having some good success on that operator too, so I don't hate it. It would have been maybe a bit more unorthodox for the Buck, but it's something they're gonna have to deal with if they go back to the top floor. They'll go to the basement to start though, which means that it's gonna be a different Vert Destruction operator. It'll be Skimzy picking up the Ram. Not going to be easy to use necessarily. There are 4 players in Orgless that are outside of the basement. Everybody but the IGL of Bino is currently on some sort of a roam. Now, some are playing quite close to stairs. Fens is on the yellow stairs, not too far away from sight. We've, of course, got players that are over towards Armory, perhaps with the hatch open as well. The top floor itself, not occupied by Orgless, but this middle floor is going to be where Orgless try to take a couple gunfights, try to waste a little bit of time. It's not going to be the same strategy that Team Cruelty used where they sat all 5 players in the basement. They went for a full bunker strategy. Instead, Orgless want to get a little bit more active, and I think that's the right call. With Kixro having a good game, with Fen starting to shoot back quite a bit as well, this is definitely where you want to start to bring the fight to Team Cruelty. If you let them set up, what we've seen in the last few rounds is that they will take advantage of that and really have some good pushes. So I'm excited to see what these roamers can do.
Despite how close today's matches have been, we have yet to need overtime. I feel like it's coming.
It's due.
I really do feel like it's coming. Prior to the DZM80 game, we went almost the distance in every single one of our matchups.
Oh.
This one now feels like we're going to get very, very close. Tumbo baits Epic into a nice peek through the door, but not before Fatal had been picked off, and now Skimzy will die too at the hands of Fens. Kixro dies and has had very limited success. What did I say? What is happening here? The amount of times people are dying without even knowing where they're getting pushed from. How do you not see this? How are you not aware of the fact that you are standing next to an open doorway? Is nobody on your team watching drones? Is nobody on the cams? There are times where we try to be patient and polite with newer teams, and there are times when stuff like that happens, and it's like, how is this occurring? How are you standing next to a wall that is open and you don't know that somebody is there?
Listen, it wasn't pretty, but they got a 3v3 roam clear in the end. They'll stick up with a gridlock and now a jackal to try to push this site 2v2. They're not going to have much information. I don't know if they know where these anchor positions are. I like the rotate, though. They've shown presence towards office. They say, screw it, let's rotate towards garage. If this doesn't get caught, this could catch somebody else off guard.
We've got the Inox out, so Mutombo will look for some intel. You can either do it manually with your eyes, or you can then use the footprints. And once again, look at how close they are. How do you miss that? An ace from Fens comes in, and oh my, every single player on the side fed his way. That is the second ace for Orgless in this match. Kixro did it in round number 2, and in round 10, Fens will join him. The impact that a single player is capable of having, really fantastic stuff. And with that, another round, only our second, won by the defenders, and it's match point for Orgless.
I'm going to choose to ignore what I just saw from Mutombo and say that that was a big round from Fens, one that he desperately needed to help his team get out of the slump they've been on since swapping to the defense. The Detroit-based rookie was the best player for Orgless last week with a .88. It was always on the defense where he was finding good value. Usually that was a Zombie, Goyo, Smoke. Those were his operators, more kind of anchor-focused ops. This time it was the Valkyrie, still in an anchor position, but being able to get aggressive in that early round, right? Helping out his roamers, finding impact, and making sure he trades out his teammates that were getting killed up and around the map. That was really good play from Fens. Maybe some shots that Cruelty should have hit, maybe some gunfights that should have gone their way, but regardless, the opportunity was presented to Fens, and he capitalized on it, and that's what's going to matter at the end of the day.
This has been quite the adventure between these two teams. Orgless right now poised for 3 big points, which would shoot them up the standings and actually shoot them up quite a ways. They would be tied with Cloud9 sitting in 6th, but the drop-off, Jesse, is quite steep. The top 5 all have 6 points or above. The bottom 5 all have 3 points or less. So there is a huge disparity between the top of the NA League and the bottom at the moment. Right now, that disparity amounts to 1 regulation win. But if that trend line holds, it will become a gulf that will take multiple play days for you to be able to climb up to that top 5. Again, it goes back to the conversations that we have about how you need to get points early in the stage. If you lose your first 4 games and you win the next 5, that is great. That is 15 points. But if your opponents are not losing, and you've got a team like DZ who's already at 9 points, doesn't matter how well you do for the remainder of the stage. It's about how poorly the people ahead of you do. Your fate is out of your hands at that point. Speaking of out of their hands, both Eddie and Fatal have died, so both of these teams have lost 1 in the first 90 seconds. Cruelty were looking for an entry towards the bomb site, but are currently being thwarted by the mute jammers set out by Bino earlier in the prep phase.
Both important picks. I think you take it if you're Cruelty, but losing the Capitao still really, really hurts. They've got Pyrox on the Thermite with Diffuse Kit. This guy was once considered the hottest young fragger of the Mexico division, so to see him in a position like this is certainly a sight. As you mentioned, the mute jammer causing problems not just for the drones, but also for the hard breach. You've got to imagine they have some answer to it, but other than a nade, I'm not sure exactly what that's going to be. Maybe a Twitch drone to clear that mute jammer as well. They knew that they banned the Kaid and Bandit, so it shouldn't be a huge surprise that this mute is up on the board, but they just don't have a good solution to it. Since Fatal died with those pocket EMPs, that's going to be a bit of a problem. If they don't get that wall open, this push gets really awkward.
Looks like a Nitro Cell went sailing out, but it does not look like it collects any of its targets. Everybody's still at full HP. Ivan exchanging about 90% of it for a kill on defense. I'd make that deal as Kixro takes out Mutombo. That's the diffuser dropped as well. Now objective play, pretty important until all of Orgless dies. Now it's all up to Bino to save the day. Diffuser will need to be retrieved, or they can just hunt for the final kill. Give yourself a bit of redundancy. Pick up that diffuser, try to get the objective down while the rest search for the final player. Nitro Cell goes out, and it completely misses. Pyrox has to peel off of his spots. Bullet Tracers go down. Bino eliminates Ivan, but Pyrox jumps off the plant, and we're going all 12 rounds. They struggled, fought, scraped to get to match point, and they will have 1 more round to do it in regulation. If this round goes in favor of Team Cruelty, that means neither of these teams collect all 3 points. The best you can do is 2, which for both of these teams is frankly a loss. You need clean wins in regulation to get out of the basement. Cruelty obviously want 2. That's a win for them at this point because the alternative is 0. But for Orgless, to drop a single point by going to OT, that would significantly hurt their chances of climbing up the standings, especially as their schedule gets a little bit easier moving forward. You want every point now that you can get after having to battle up against some of the Titans for the first 2 play days. Cruelty is your reprieve for the time being. Final round of regulation.
Good round, and number 11 there from Pyrox. I was kind of talking about him before things started off, and then he managed to find 2 big kills jumping off the defuse kit. I mean, listen, you can take Pyrox off of the fragging rolls, but you can't take the fragger out of the kit, and that's a really nice kind of bounce back to see. He has still been top fragging this lobby as far as Team Cruelty players are concerned, and actually with that round, top fragging overall with 13 and 9. It was his rookie stage last year when he got picked up by Team Cruelty. He'd never played Tier 1 before. He got signed to play in the Mexican Tier 1 division. And he dropped 33 frags in just his first 2 games, going plus 20 overall in the Mexico region. This time around, he started the first 2 games with only 11 frags. Now he's bumped that up to 11 plus 13 will be 24. So starting to get back to those same numbers he was showing off in MXPL, but long ways to go still to be the number 1 fragger of the region.
Expect another slow round here as it'll be agonizing for both of these teams. Orgless looking for their very first victory. Both of these teams looking for the very first point, and they might actually both get it.
Nice.
Bad start for Cruelty as Eddie reads into that one perfectly. Pulse getting your heartbeat and then finishing you off, ensuring that there's nothing left. Tumbo will be quick to get to the bomb site after that explosive beginning. Rough for Team Cruelty as they've now managed to claw their way to 3 minutes at the start of this round away from getting a single point.
I wanted Orgless to ban out the buck because Ivan was such a problem on this bomb site. Instead, they said, Eddie, go to the pulse. You're going to hide the entire prep phase. You're going to go to the basement so they don't know we have a pulse. And then you're just going to find that buck. You're going to hunt him down. He's been such a problem through this top floor defense. I like the answer Orgless have come up with. I wanted them to ban the operator, but they clearly had a much better solution. Now, not only is the buck not going to be a problem, but they have a man advantage to try to hold this down for the first time.
Tumbo breathing an awful lot of gas, suffering through it, but now we'll be on the hunt to try to take care of the Warden. Epic gets him first, and a second comes in from Epic. Pyrox is last man standing, and a 3K for Epic will seal the deal from Orgless. Slow starts to the rounds, but explosive and quick ends to them. Orgless will win their second defense, and that's all that's needed. All 3 points will go in their favor as they topple Cruelty 7-5.
Not a bad finish from the rookie from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Good stuff from Epic, standing up in his just second week as a pro player. That's what he needed to do on defense, hitting some beauty shots like we've seen him hit throughout his time in Tier 2. That's a huge win for Orgless. This was a team that was desperate to get one on the board. It might have come against Team Cruelty, but a win is a win. 3 full points is absolutely massive at this stage in the season.
Absolutely huge for Orgless, especially given the start that they had to this season under terrible circumstances. They'll be very happy about that one. That's it for our show, but you want to hear from our winners and the final thoughts from our desk. We'll be back in a couple minutes.
Hall here, guys, as well. Go. Yeah, walking up rocket. They're walking up rocket all, guys. What's on me? What's that? Bathroom. Oh my God! Let's go! I'm fucking crazy. Good fucking shit, baby. I just shit on those guys. Let's fucking go. I just shit on them. That's 3 on the board, baby. Let's go. Let's go. Oh my God. Get this shit, man. Nah, that's a Twitter clip.
All right, 3 on the board indeed. Orgless celebrating their first win here at the NAL against Team Cruelty. I mean, coming into this, we said it could be anybody's game, and it was Orgless's game.
Yeah, I mean, I chose them. I thought they had the best shot given what we've seen from Cruelty, or at least in comparison to the two. But I mean, at kind of like what cost in that game? I mean, it did look in the beginning, I will say, LFL looked far more convincing, but then once they switched sides, then it was like, okay, what's going on here? And to do it on the side that is the easier side is where you're struggling the most. Again, there's a lot of issues from both these teams, but to just be able to say something nice and on a light-handed note here, light-footed, is the fact that Orgless did get the win. And sometimes that's all you need to get under your belt to really put the fire underneath you and just have that taste of what that feels like.
Yeah, the mental game. I mean, obviously you get one out of the way. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to overcome because every game goes on and you just sink deeper and deeper into that hole of we just haven't won anything. We haven't won anything. But they finally got it on the board, but I agree. At what cost? They showed so much of their lair. Now every team's going to know everything what they do on the lair. You know, it's just, wouldn't say it was necessarily worth it for a 7-5 win, but still good takeaway for.
So maybe they never show it again. But either way, at the cost of also having 2 aces. So the Blacklight Detail is going to be heading over to that. I mean, this is the first ace that we've seen on the NAL and the second ace that we've seen on the NAL so far. How many times do we get to see 2 in one game?
I mean, not very often. I mean, you realistically, at this level, you should never see an ace because of the caliber of players that find themselves
you never got
in the
an
situation.
ace?
I've actually had multiple aces in my career. Clearly, you aren't caught up with my career, but no, it is
Too
important,
irrelevant.
you know, again, for these players to be able to still have a performance like this, get an ace, not to take anything away from it. It does feel good to get an ace. Like I said, it really does light that fire underneath players, and sometimes you just got to get that feeling. But by all means, I don't think you should latch onto this win or latch onto these moments, because if you're doing it to a team that is just as bad as you are, I don't really think there's too much, like I said, that you really want to hold too much and live in that moment.
Okay, wait, hold on, guys, because like Bino is ready for the interview, which means he's probably hearing everything you're saying right now. So I want to actually say congratulations on the win, Bino, and you guys get the 3 points. All of them for now on that leaderboard. How does it feel? Because we saw the comms after you guys were able to close out the game and you're all really hyped and you're really excited. But how does it feel for you as a player to be coming in here and going, yes, we finally done it?
Yeah, it feels good. Obviously, we didn't close the game as we wanted to. I felt like we did fix our attacks, which we got off to a good start. But yeah, we had a sloppy second half. But at the end of the day, we got 3 points, closed in regulation. So can't be too mad at that.
No, you can. I mean, congratulations, Bina, for your guys' win. My question is more specifically when you're going up against Cruelty. They're currently now, after you guys have beat them, the 10th place team in the league currently. Going to Lair, which is obviously an untested map, such a big map. What was the thought process of taking them to that map when arguably, like, you guys should know that you would be the better team at the end of the day? Is there a reason you guys went to Lair, or you just wanted to not show the other maps that you needed to be working on, or what was the thought process like?
No, we felt good on it all week. I think our performances last week, we kind of tailored more of our map pool preference to like what we were thinking about the other team and not necessarily ourselves. So that was kind of a goal for what we were practicing for this week. We wanted to play more for what we want to play, and we'll kind of take it like that. So yeah, we felt good on it all week. Not really anything to do on their side, more just our focus, if that makes sense.
Well, Bino, I want to say also congratulations on the win today. I've been very critical on Desk, I think rightfully so in some areas, but I obviously now being able to talk to you, I do want to hear your perspective of what kind of the challenges have really been for you guys and kind of what you've been focusing on more than anything for yourself as an individual, but then also for your team, especially being in that IGL role.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different league from Challenger League. For me personally, I've actually never IGL'd a team in my experience. So going from a T2 style, a T2 style team and kind of helping Packer calls to being a full blown T1 IGL is definitely a step up. I think that showed last week as well with the SR and DZ games. We were just really sloppy. But at the end of the day, like, what we're going to do is we're going to go into each game, we're going to learn as much as we can and just get better. I mean, I feel like we really worked on our attacks all week. We knew that was the struggle. And we executed it pretty well, but it's not as convincing as a victory as I would have liked, I guess.
For sure.
The defenses we're going to have to go back and watch and figure out how we're losing, but yeah.
Well, I definitely want to say, like, I commend you for stepping into that role of IGL, going from a T2 to a T1. I can't imagine the stress that is on your shoulders given the performances that have shown. But I think it also is important for you to acknowledge that and also realize that you guys are trying to improve in as many areas as possible. So for that alone, again, congratulations on the win. I do hope for the rest of the stage we see a lot more improvement going forward.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you. Means a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to repeat exactly what Lax said. I think it's really honorable and just really good that you know where the issues are and you're working on fixing them. And I think your mentality of taking it game by game is also really fun, like just really good and a really great way of approaching things. And last week was trial by fire, okay? DZ and SR, like, You couldn't have asked for a more difficult week, so that's all behind you. Thank you so much for your time and for joining us for the interview, and congratulations on your win. Hopefully we'll see you around again.
Thanks, guys. Have a good
Bye.
one. Take care. Bye.
See, you guys gotta be a little nicer.
I don't think it's about being a little nice. I don't think it's a matter of us being mean or even myself.
You don't think you're mean?
I don't think that I'm mean. I think that I'm being critical in the right areas, though, because I know what it's like to be a former player and being in that position.
Yeah, let's also have a look at the schedule of today in terms of how these games went, because, you know, they were, I would say, the last one not as one-sided as we expected it to be, but I think for me, like, 7-2 from DZ M80 was not on my bingo card, but everything else was a little bit more
You
competitive.
cursed it.
Yeah, you jinxed it. Out of all the
Yay!
games, you were saying
I did!
That one was
Whoops.
going to be the game of the day. I mean, in my opinion, I thought Cloud9 SSG was going to be the game of the day. But honestly, the one that I guess impressed us the most would probably have to be Shopify Rebellion Wildcard, just because it was such a back and forth and probably the highest level game that we saw today.
Yeah, and that was the game that I chose, and rightfully so. But again, we also said
Just gotta like put that in there.
every game was going to be a close game, which it was outside the one that you jinxed. Just have to throw that in
Why
there
are we
as
saying
well.
that I jinxed it?
But
I just said it was going to be a great game, and it was a great game for a DZ fan.
Definitely. But even for the last game, you know, as much as, you know, we want to give these teams not as much credit, it still is important that these teams are keeping it competitive. Cruelty could have just fell flat on their face. That could have been a 7-0, 7-1. They both are showing resilience in their own right. But again, it is important for these teams to go with each stride, with each motion, to get that repetition down, to hopefully look better with each and every single game that we get in.
Yeah, because then we're going to have to go into the playoffs. And as a reminder, you need to lock top 6 to be able to actually head into the playoffs. And looking at the way that the standings are right now, it is pretty heavy in terms of the top teams at the top. I mean, DZ, 9 points already, like, impressive. They should be very happy with that. Currently, you know, in that contention, or currently are the best team in the league. And then you look towards the bottom of the leaderboard, and Cruelty still sitting on 0.
Well, one thing that I want to say is, you know, being an Oxygen alumni, seeing Oxygen already doing well out the get-go, it does bring a little life, gets you a little new lungs in the system, brings a little more oxygen in there. So it is good to see them there. But again, this by no means is a placeholder of how much this really can shape out for the rest of the days.
Yeah, and also each team day to day, I mean, like we just highlighted today, I mean, Bino and Orgless played against the top 2 teams last week. So obviously now you're in a situation where the games will only get easier. OXG, for example, played Cruelty and Envy, which are 2 teams at the bottom of the leaderboard, which means the games will only get harder. So obviously it's a week-to-week, a touch-and-go basis. But at the end of the day, every point matters. So obviously the teams at the top are sitting good. The teams at the bottom are sitting not.
Not good.
Not good.
Either way, we also have games happening tomorrow again, which are further going to impact the standings. And we're going to be starting off tomorrow with M80 against Wildcard, which again, I think is going to be quite a competitive game, but oops, I said it, so now it's jinxed.
Oh, wow. Look at OXG. They're getting the three struggling teams so fast back-to-back weeks. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, honestly, I'm excited to watch that one. I'm really looking forward to OXG's limit testing against all the other teams in the league. Obviously, we've only been able to see them play Cruelty, Envy, Orgless, and SR, so there really hasn't been too much variation from the bottom teams to the top besides SR. So I'm excited for Orgless versus Oxygen.
Yeah, I think game of the day for me could be the Space Station versus Envy, but by all means, I think that first game to really kick off tomorrow should be a fun one to watch, so don't want to miss that.
So now you jinxed that one too.
Well, I didn't jinx it. I haven't jinxed it.
I mean, I
You're the one that
started
jinxed
it. We'll see, however, that's going to be playing out. But either way, thank you guys so much for tuning in for today. That's done and dusted Playday number 3. Playday 4 is tomorrow. As a little bit reminder, same time, same place. So have a good night. Take care of yourself, and we'll see you tomorrow.